Hey everyone, we are back with another update video, and by we, of course, I mean with me as always is Corey. Say hi, Corey.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
So yeah, we've got a pretty big list to go through. I'm just going to record this in little bits and splice it together so we can keep checking the list. But as you could see on the screen here, Corey's been working on some of the final art for some of the enemies that appear in the later levels. We won't go into too much detail or spoil any gameplay, but it's actually animated, so there you get the vertical wall crawling style animation and then the horizontal.
Right.
Of this giant spider character. And then another cool thing you could see as part of the workflow, as we've mentioned in previous update videos, a big goal now is to get the game design work done and get at least placeholder art to the guys at Neofid as quickly and as early as possible so they can use that to get the game working. And then that way we have more time, especially Corey, since he's doing the vast majority of the final art, has time to actually make the polished art. And that way no programmer's ever waiting for polished art. These are just kind of sitting on their hands not programming because they're waiting. And also there's never the risk of Corey creating beautiful final art and animations that ends up not working in gameplay or having to be redrawn or reanimated. So this is the best workflow, especially for really tight dev schedules. And so here's a great example of that. Here is the actual tentacle design that's fully rendered and detailed, but the way Corey worked out the different animations that were needed in a simplified version that is absolutely fantastic for Neofid to get the game working, and then simply updating the animation strips, so to speak, the frames. So yeah, there's some of the other animations for the tentacles, and then eventually, once Corey gets a chance, once he's finished doing the more important stuff, he'll go back and add all of the details to these animations.
Yeah, and tentacles, the way they move, I thought it was very important to get the motion down first before trying to add all those details. Right. And, you know, another slight disclaimer is all this new art, there's always going to be maybe some subject to change before it's finalized in the game. We may find that things may need a different scale or colors or something like that, you know, palette in the long term. This is pretty close to what the vision will be like, but yes.
Exactly. So like we're doing everything we can to mitigate the need for big changes like scale, but you always have to have that open as a possibility. Ideally, make it so that you have the time and the kind of almost willpower to say, you know what, it would be better if I did make this change and actually make a change. So the point is iteration, which I'm sure I've gone on about in other update videos, but that's really the key. We really obviously want this game and all our future games to be as fun as possible. And it's one thing to have a good idea, and it's one thing to make something work in a game, but to make it work really well and be fun takes a lot of, once you get it working in the game, tweaking every aspect of the timing, the size, the movement speeds, the animation speeds, and maybe even tweaking some of the animation frames so that there's more of a quote-unquote tell or anticipation or follow-through. All of those things from the visual.
Yeah, sometimes you can make like a tell, and then you get it in the environment and everything, and it just doesn't read as well as you want it to or something, and you gotta like exaggerate it more. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I think the scale is close, but you may even run into issues like, for example, we're adding another gameplay character who may do things a little different than the main guy, so we may run into situations where it's like, oh, well, this guy's magic is actually passing through this enemy when it shouldn't be, and there's you find tiny little things like that sometimes can warrant a slight change, you know.
Absolutely. And that's a great accidental segue. We might as well talk about Gareth, the second selectable character for the Megadrive version. So his gameplay and moveset has now been finalized and is tested to be fun even without the final polish that's going to continue to happen during the development of the game. But it was enough that not only are the final moveset and the magic is decided and mostly working now for level 1, but also I was able, with that confidence that the moveset is established and concrete now, I was able to get all of the animation frames for Gareth to about 70% cleaned up and detailed, world. So I'm just going to keep going back as I have time between the more important things of getting the rest of the game designed and functional so that Neofid always knows exactly what they need to do. The point is, now I can very easily just keep dipping back into finishing, polishing up Gareth's animations, and we're just going to keep doing that throughout the development of the game. Another really cool thing about that whole element of having a second playable character is now the tag team mode is functional with all the core functionality. So that too is at a point now where it's all about just testing and iterating and tweaking those little things that will need to be changed in tag team mode. Like, what do we have to do to compensate regarding the difficulty of the game? You know, because tag team mode gives the players an advantage. So yeah, there's got to be some nice simple ways to increase the difficulty level in some form or fashion. Many small tweaks that together balance back out the difficulty to compensate for that advantage that the players have in tag team mode. But that's going very smoothly. And going back to Corey and graphical work, he also did get all of the basic enemies and sub-boss type stuff for level 4 all set and Megadrive compliant and looking better than ever. And then on the Neofid side of things, with actually programming and making things work on the Megadrive, they got all of the behaviors for the level 2 boss fully functional now, actually working on the Megadrive. So I was able to test play that and give them a nice big list of tweaks to make that should get it functioning very, very close to final. And they also got the foundation started for the code and behavior for the level 3 boss. So that's going pretty quickly. And then I had said in our previous update video that I expected by now to have the whole game on the modern version with placeholder art and some stuff that still needs polishing and plenty of not very relevant bugs as far as just designing and testing. I'm not there yet, but I am finally working. The last thing to do, or the last big thing to do, I should say, is the final boss fight, which I have started on, but I'm not done with. And that's going very well. But it's just one of those things where it turned out in order to get there, like toward the end of the game, there's more storytelling integrated into the natural gameplay and transitions of things. And basically it would have been a waste of my time to not make it function at least mostly correct in the transitions. Like I could have hacked it to be able to skip doing that work. But then even the hacks I would have had to go back in and replace, and just even the hacky transitions would have taken time. So I just decided it's better to just get those working mostly right off the bat. That's what made it take a little longer for me, but it's still critical work that had to be done. So in a sense, I'm behind where I thought I would be regarding all of the boss fights, even though I'm currently working on the final boss fight, so it's going perfectly quickly enough. But I did get more stuff done on that other side of things that I had not really considered.
Yeah, I think those things are still pretty important for us to determine kind of the pacing of everything that happens in the second portion of the game and all that kind of stuff. So I think we're getting pretty close, though, to that sort of snapshot of full game gameplay and seeing how that feels all the way through. And we'll be focusing more on that very soon.
Yeah, certainly at the most, that's like, between a week and 2 weeks away that we'll be able to literally play the whole game all the way through. Like I said, especially the last part of it will still be with some placeholder art and with some minor bugs and stuff, but playable and very good to assess things. And as Corey was saying, even though this is a very arcade-style action game, we really want that sense of this is an epic journey in an epic world, but in a very smooth way, like you're watching a well-made action movie where there's a plot unfolding and there's a richness to the world or environment, but it's all just fed to you naturally during the action. And in between those very brief transitions from level to level that aren't boring and aren't giant expositional, you press the button a million times to get through a million scenes. It's all very quick, but we want that sense of richness to be there. We want that story to unfold, and getting that all working will help us, like Corey said, part of assessing and perfecting and polishing that flow, not just of the gameplay, but how those little tiny transitional moments, half of which happen during gameplay, will really solidify the whole story. And yeah, that is an important thing too. But yeah, that's going very well. And the cool thing is, I don't think we mentioned this in our last video, but Corey and I did have a great design scrum meeting about the final boss fight. And we've got a lot of cool stuff that we can't wait to get working. And we're definitely, even to our Patreon backers, like all of that stuff is going to stay a secret for them to experience once the game is actually out. And also Neofid did get the level 3 magic for Elric working on the Megadrive, so obviously all of the magics, even though they behave slightly differently between Elric and Gareth, most of the artwork is the same and the sort of core behavior is the same. Like, you might have different moves you get out in different ways, but ultimately, like, it's still going to be like level 1 is fire and kind of fiery explosion based and so on and so forth. But the point is, level 3's magic is being implemented now on the actual Megadrive. And for those of you with Steam accounts, if you actually want to play the playable demo of DaemonClaw, currently on Steam, if you go to our DaemonClaw Steam page, we'll link to it in the description of this video. There's the Steam Next Fest, I think it's called, going on right now. It started yesterday and it ends on the 12th. So only for that time window. So you only have a few days. But right now you could go to the Steam page and download the playable demo. So if you've not yet played the demo, this demo covers level 1, the level 1 boss fight, and all of level 2. And keep in mind, everyone, the game is still very much work in progress. There's just more polishing and tweaking that's going to happen all along the way. So we very much would appreciate and look forward to any feedback you might give us. Absolutely, if you have any suggestions, or if there's anything you especially like or anything that frustrates you while you're playing, please do let us know. You could come back to this video and comment if you'd like. That would be a good way to give us some feedback. But yeah, so remember that ends on the 12th, so basically 6 days from now. So grab it while you can. The demo will be removed from the page after the event. But otherwise, that is it for this video. Thanks very much for watching.
If you enjoy our content and want to keep up to date on our games, please leave a like and subscribe. Also, if you want to support our projects, consider becoming a patron. The link's in the description, and we'll see you soon.